to add in here on this song of choice, maybe?
What?
Any song preference, maybe? How you like your peanut butter sandwich?
How do you like your steak? Whatever. Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah, I can't believe the food giveaway today decided to give out turkey roll. I don't know who sent it to you.
And 84 cans of cranberry sauce.
I don't know. They must have gotten a deal for the holidays or something. Okay, whatever. All right, let's chazar from yesterday quickly. Yeah, so the Gemara yesterday went through all different proofs that R means night, right? Then some rayas that it was light, and Lamaisa, the maskaras of Gemara is that R means night, and then but the reason why it decided to use the lashon of R because I want to use a higher. You're supposed to use a more pure language whenever you can. On Amud Beis, we said that if you don't have to use pure language if it's going to take longer to say, because saying things in the shortest amount of time is better. I went through a few rayas about the Rabbanan that used bad terminology. One was a Kayan, and one was Rabbi Yochanan. We used good, and he ends up being a Dayan. And then the story of the Yid the guy who fooled them to think that he's a Yid with the Korban Pesach, and then we said avoiding to say bad news. Right, so that brings us to Daf Yomi Pesachim right on the top. Okay, Daf Yomi Pesachim, we're all there. Okay, so Zok the Gemara, Rav Barachu the Rabchio Bar Achse Kisalek Lahasam. So this is interesting. You need a little bit. This is a little bit of a Yavamas type thing. Rav was the son of the brother of Reb Chia and the son of the sister of Reb Chia. Right? Cop that how that happens? Two half sisters, not half, steps.
Reb Chia lived in Arkansas, yeah.
Yeah, I don't cop that one, but yeah, whatever, right? So yeah, so anyways, two sisters, that a brother and a sister that were not related to each other got married. That's where that comes from. So that's
how do you have a brother and a sister that are not related?
Because they're not. They're steps. It's step.
Step brother, not half. Step brother and step sister.
Step. Yeah. So.
But step are not.
They're not. They're allowed. It's not. The father got married, had a kid, then got married again, right? And had a kid. And there were two kids from previous marriages, then ended up marrying each other and they had a kid. So it's his uncle and his aunt.
What? The father got married. Sorry, this is taking me. I'm sorry. The father got married, had a kid. Then he got remarried and had another kid. So those are half brother and sisters, those kids. They can't get married.
He got married to a woman that already had a kid from a previous marriage.
They're not half. They don't know such related.
Okay.
Okay, so it's his aunt and his uncle.
Father and mother and uncle.
I'm not getting this one.
Okay, whatever it is, whatever. I don't know if it's Kedai to spend time on it, whatever. But if the other wants to spend time on it, because it's hey.
I'm going to ask you about this later.
Look at the top Rashi.
Okay.
Ivu was the Rav's father, Reb Chia's brother, from the father. He was Reb Chia's brother from his father. They shared a father, different mothers. Right?
That's my Rebbe says. Come to me after.
Right, then you go to the end of the Rashi, and the mother shows the Ima Sharav Achaisa Reb Chia Haisa Min Ha'im was Reb Chia's sister from the mother.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, I have to think about it slowly.
Okay. No, it's confusing. It's confusing. Every time I do it, I got to re-cheshbon it. It doesn't mean you're not in the wrong. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so again, Rab Barachud Rab Chia Ubar Achsik, where he was the son of the brother of Chia and the son of the sister of Chia. So Kisalak Lahasam, when he went up there, Amrule Ivu Kayim, is Ivu alive? Right? It's interesting that they called him, right? They should have said, is your father alive? It didn't say that. It says they called him by his first name to the child. Okay. So Amar Lei Ima Kayemis. He said, my mother's alive. Right?
Mother wasn't
Name-
No, he didn't
her
say.
name was
He
Ima.
asked him. Sorry, he asked him. What do you say?
Her name was Ima, not he didn't call him.
Correct. Her name was Ima. Correct. But it's the mother, right? So Amar Lei Ima Kayemis. So he said, is she alive? Meaning what he meant to say is, why ask me about my father? Ask me about my mother. Right?
Why would he do that?
Because he didn't want to say the bad news. Right? So Amar Lei Ima Kayemis. So he said well, let's see the whole sugya. So they said, okay, so is she alive? Amar Lei Ivu Kayim. Is Ivu alive? Yeah. Meaning he kept avoiding. What?
You understand the shock of Ataya? I asked you
I
if
would
your
like to
father's
understand.
alive. A person asks if somebody's father's alive, so then you answer me back, ask me if my mother's alive.
Right.
If they ask, is your mother alive? She says, my father. What's the
Is
shock?
my father not my father's alive? Is my father alive? That's the first shot. The first way Rashi witnessed it. Meaning, whatever they asked him, he said, "Why don't you ask about my mother?" Then they asked, "Okay, so what's with your mother? Why don't you ask about my father?"
Why did they say that? He knew his mother wasn't alive.
Neither of them were alive.
Well, I get it. So what is he? He's leading.
He doesn't want to say that they're not alive.
He's leading a question to give bad news.
No, they didn't chop the first time. The first time they said, "Is your father alive?" Well, they didn't say your father. They said, "Ivu, is he alive?" So he said, "Why don't you ask if my mother Ema is alive?"
Why is he saying that? He knew his mother wasn't alive.
No, because he didn't want to tell them that their father's not alive.
At what point does all of this asking questions back and forth get into Bittul Torah territory?
Oh, you're asking? Yeah, it's actually that's a good question. That's a good
Well,
question.
for us,
We'll get
not
to
for
that
us.
No, not for us. I mean, for the Amoram.
That's okay, 100%. But yes.
What's the Bittul Torah?
No, because what do you mean? He's wasting all this time. Just say the news.
You're not
Okay, we'll get to
supposed
that. Let's just.
They're not supposed to say the news.
That's Torah too, the way to talk to
That's
people.
Torah also.
one second.
Going back and forth is Torah. Just give him an answer.
What's back and forth? There's two sons, father and mother, and each one he said a question. If you would have said 5 questions back and forth, I would have said Bittul Torah. Here's one question back and one question of mother. There's nothing more than Bittul Torah. The Torah says you have to be careful with the words, and you have to be careful. That's all.
See, this is a different thing. This is not careful with the words. This is that not to be the bearer of bad news.
Okay, so that's Torah also.
So no, good, but okay. So here's the thing. Do you know anybody that keeps this halacha?
I know
This is
people
halacha?
that don't tell other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I have.
Yeah?
I have a story. I was buyer
There's
of
a
a
story
body.
in Corona that happened many times.
I was buyer of a body many years ago, and he was
Yeah.
taking his daughter and son-in-law to visit, I think his sister, I don't remember who, in Tveria. And before they left, he turned to his daughter and son-in-law and he said, don't ask about their uncle, her uncle, his brother-in-law, because he was nifter. So I asked his son-in-law, why didn't he say anything when he was nifter? He was nifter 2 years ago. So we asked him, and he quoted this Gemara. He said, not supposed to spread bad news. You were in seminary, you weren't around, and there's no reason to tell you.
Right. Okay, good. But here's the thing, okay? I'm going to read now Shulchan Aruch on this halacha, okay? Misha meis loy meis.
Wait, what is it on? What part of Shulchan Aruch? What is it?
Yeridea Simin Tov Beis at the end of Hilchos Aveilus.
Aveilus, okay.
Yeah. Misha meis loy meis. V'loy noidaloi. Somebody has it, no, but somebody was nifter, a relative of his that he has to sit shiva for. And he doesn't know about it. There is no requirement to tell him. Even if his mother and father passed away, there's no reason to say it. Which is our Gemara. Right? It's yesterday's Gemara. That Maitzi Diba, somebody who says bad things, is a ksil, is a fool. Right? Not only that, you can invite him to any wedding you want.
Wow.
You go to the guy and say, come to the wedding. You know that his parents died. You say, no, don't tell him anything. Come to the wedding, no problem. Keep in Shani there since he doesn't know. Right? Mihu im love, but if he asks what's with his parents, That you can't say. You're not allowed to lie. Right?
Mr. Yaakov, they never told my shver, one of his sisters died. He was sick already, my shver. They never told him. He never knew she died.
Yeah,
And she should live and be well. My aunt in Square, my tante shined on the Square for 2 years. We didn't tell her that my Yankee, my wife's brother, died 3 years ago. But he used to come visit because anytime there was a yard, he would come to Basic Forest. And she says, where's Yankee? I haven't seen Yankee in a while. She says, well, he's busy at business. He feels bad. He didn't come for the yard site this year. Eventually her kids in the Square told her, but I saw her 3 times and she didn't know.
Yeah, so that
They
right.
say
So,
Rabbi Elyashiv never knew Rabbi Kamenetsky died.
is that so?
Yeah, because he died like a few years later. I think he was sick, and they never told him.
They didn't tell him until after Sukkot. They told him, but they didn't tell him until after Sukkot.
Oh wow.
So
does that apply to sick also?
You're not supposed to be the bearer of bad news, but it's interesting. So
well, they say a child shouldn't tell a parent something like somebody died because it's bad news. No, you should tell somebody else. No.
Well, I don't know. You shouldn't tell anybody anything. You're not.
What about sick? What about sick for Tehillim?
Never tell your parents that the Rebbe patched you. That I learned that too late in life.
That is true. That's true.
Does the Ramah write anything there?
The Ramah says, "Mikol makom bebonim scharim," by male children. Nagu lahidiyah. The minig is to tell them kidei sheyomru kaddish, so that they should say kaddish. Abo bebonis ain't minig klal lahidiyah. By daughters, there's no minig at all to tell them. Wow. The only reason why to tell sons is to say kaddish. So the poskim actually ask an interesting din. Let's say one parent is nifter during the year of aveilus for another parent. So they're already saying kaddish. So then it kicks back and there's no reason to tell the son. Right? A fascinating din in Shulchan Aruch that nobody keeps as far as I know.
What about robbing the kid of the schus of, not schus, but kibbut avim saying kaddish?
Oh, right. So now that's the thing. So is a mitzvah doicha this? Meaning, yeah. Is a mitzvah? This din is not a halacha. It says, it's brought in Shulchan Aruch, but it just says that it's a ksil. You're a fool. It doesn't say you. Sometimes you got to be a fool in order to you take it. That's what the poskim also discuss. That do you make yourself into a fool so that your friend can do a mitzvah? Right, good. So you're a fool for saying the bad news. Okay, I'll be a fool, but like this, now you can say kaddish. Now somebody can say kaddish. Right? That's A. B. Reb Feivel Cohen in Badei Shulchan, his pirush on the Shulchan Aruch says on his own. He doesn't bring anybody that says this. If it's going to cause a machlokes, then having shalom is more important than being a ksil. So if you know that somebody's going to be upset at you for not saying the Besura Ra, so then you say. That's the way he possibly
has no right to say that Reb David Feinstein's nifter.
That it seems, I don't know. What should I tell you? So now here's the thing. So that's what Avrami was asking. Is it doicha Talmud Torah? Right? So is it doicha a mitzvah? Lamaisa, meaning I want to say this. I looked around today. I didn't find anybody say this, but I would think that if it's to do a mitzvah, then you say it. So if it's nageya to the person going to the levaya, which is a mitzvah, so then you say, because the mitzvah is more important than the ksil. But if it's stam to hack around and to say the news, then that you shouldn't do.
Isn't being menachem
so the Gazal Dair is nifter and Eretz Yisrael, and I can't go to the levaya, you shouldn't tell me.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah, but for that you have the internet, though.
Isn't being
That's one good thing about the internet. You get to hear all the bad news, and nobody has to say it.
Isn't being menachem avol a mitzvah?
Yes, menachem avol is also a mitzvah. Meaning,
what about sitting shiva?
Isn't
that what yeshiva world was created for?
That's about the only good thing about yeshiva world.
But I ask, what about learning Torah with that person?
So and a chanami, if that's what you're gonna do. So
isn't that a general rule that if somebody can't do something about it, then you should never tell them? Like they can't do something about a stain or whatever it is on Shabbos that you shouldn't say something. Same thing. If they can't come to the levaya, you shouldn't tell them about it because
right. So that's and a chanami. So it doesn't sound like you should. Now the reason why, like Rabban was saying, the reason why people implement these things is for elderly who will not be able to be soivel sitting shiva. So what they do is they don't tell them till after Shloshim. That's called a Shmur Rechaika. And all you have to do is, and this is the next Gemara, all the person has to do is sit Shiva for a day. And we say Mitzvos Yom Kakuloi, and that's what they do for people that can't handle sitting Shiva. What are you saying?
This happened, Rabbi Bender, his father was lived at 53. So his grandfather was living in Eretz Yisrael, and they didn't tell him till the 28th day. He used to write a letter to his father twice a week, and the father wasn't receiving letters for 3 weeks. And in those days, the call to America was like $5-10 a minute. He was calling every 2 days. What's going on? Where's my son? Finally, the 28th day.
Okay, right. Terrible. It's terrible. Okay, but that's what you got to do. Okay, so anyway,
so you tell someone to sit Shiva, or you don't tell someone? That's a mitzvah also, no?
Most people will be very upset. Most people will be very upset if they're not told. So you tell them. You tell them.
Also, your point of two parents were nifter in the same year about the Kaddish.
Right.
Wouldn't you get a mitzvah of telling them because they get the Amud and everything, all those extra Kadeshim for Shloshim, they get first?
And the Chanami, so that's what you have to cheshbon. But right, in this case, in this go ahead.
No. It's a cheshbon like everything else in a cheshbon. It's a cheshbon. You figure out what to do.
Right.
Well, you ask an Adam Gadol what to do, like everything else. What's the difference?
No,
it's not cut and dry. It's not.
Yeah, right. You have to take it. So here, this was a shmur rechaika because they weren't going to do anything about it, right? Here was this happened way long ago, right? Okay. Anyway, so let's see. So
I read somewhere that Rav Shach, the Rosh Hashiva didn't tell him because he was trying to finish Shas that year. And tell him his father died. I think his mother wrote a letter. He should come home or something like that. So, but he had set himself as a boy to finish Shas that year, not knowing his father was going to pass away. I'm pretty sure that was a story.
Okay, so then that's I hear. But that's what they used to do. Nowadays, with all the news and all that stuff, this stuff doesn't fly. Okay, let's see about it because there's a lot more interesting things tonight also in the daf. So Amar le Shame, 4 lines down. So then what did he do? He told the shaman. So we learn a lot of we learn 3 major dinim of aveilus out of this story. Amar le Shame, he told the shaman, Shchaloitz li menali, take off my shoes. That's how we know that a oval doesn't wear shoes. And then take my clothing to the Beis HaMerchatz, to the bathhouse. So Shmamino Tlas, we hear from this 3 things. Shmamino oval also benilas asano. We know that from here we see that an oval can't wear shoes. Shmamino shmur rechaika einu nehegas elo yom echad. Somebody who hears after a while, way after the death, he's only noyig to sit aveilus 1 day. But here he did. He told him, take off my shoes, and then I'm going to take a shower. Right? So that wasn't a day. And as long as somebody sits for a little bit, then it's mitzvos yom kakuloi. You sit for a second, and that's it. Right? So those are the 30 days. 30 days. Right? So mitzvos yom kakuloi. So that's it. He took off his shoes for a second, went and took a shower. Zagazun, that was the whole aveilus, which is what people do for the elderly. That's
so. If you told someone on the 29th day, they sit a full shiva, or they just sit that 1 day?
No, just a day. Yeah,
but that's not mitzvos yom. That's a full day, and then the next day mitzvos yom. And then 28th day, 2 days.
I think so. I would have to double check, but I think so.
The case is mamish in the Gemara. They told him he sat for 10
No, but this is after 30 days, Mr.
Okay, so somebody with a brain would do it at the end of the 30 days, not the 28th day. What's the 20? Right. To do what? What are you doing for the 28th day?
Only necessary 2 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yaakov, was he allowed to teach halacha if he was officially sitting shiva at that moment?
For that minute, he probably couldn't. Right.
Well, he was teaching them halacha by telling them to be aveilus.
He just told them they're learning halacha, from Ma'aser Rav. They're learning halacha from Ma'aser Rav. Right? That's what I think. Anyways, okay, weiter. Hahu damar dainu dini. So somebody used to say, "I'll take me to Bezdin." Right? You have those type of guys. Anything, we have a little thing. We're not going to settle it. We're going to go to Bezdin. So Amri Shmami no mi Don Kasi. Must be he came from Don. Tichsiv Don Yodanami Kachat Shivte Yisrael. Because Don was the Dayanim, so it must be from Shevet Don. On the coast of the ocean, I'm gonna make a palace. Badku ashkachu the mizvulun kasi, and they checked, and he was from Zvulun. Dechsiv Zvulun l'chayv yam yeshkan. So Zvulun is on the. That's from the Birchas Yaakov, right? That it's Zvulun was gonna live by the ocean. Fine. Okay. Now back to Pesachim. So v'hashta the kaim malon the kuli alma or ortohu. So now that we've established that everybody holds that or means night michti bein l'Rav Yehuda bein l'Rav Meir. Whether it's according to Rabbi Yehuda, whether it's according to Rabbi Meir, chametz ene assur ela m'shei shos l'mala. When does chametz become assur? Chatzos on erev pesach. So then v'nivdoik b'shis. So when it becomes assur, that's when you should search for the chametz. Why are you searching for the chametz the night before, right? Meaning it's let's call chatzos 12 o'clock. So 12 o'clock in the afternoon, that's when chametz becomes assur. So check at 11:45 or whatever if you need time. You're very frum, so check 4 or 5 hours before that, right? But what do you got to check? Why do you got to check the night before? Now you're going to say pashut. What do you mean? Because everybody's supposed to be very frum and check for 12 hours. That didn't seem to entertain the Gemara. That was not a pshat, right? So, well, that's the kasha. V'nivdoik b'shis v'chitem is reason makdim l'mitzvos. So you're going to say, what do you mean? It's reason makdim l'mitzvos. So then that's nivdoik b'tzafra. Yeah, if you're doing Zrizim Makdim, so just start in the morning. You don't have to start at night. On the 8th day, you're supposed to do a bris. The whole day is kosher for bris. Elish's reason Makdim mitzvos. You're supposed to go quickly to do mitzvos. Shenemar v'yashkem Avraham babayker. Avram got up in the morning. Babayker meaning, like we learned 2 days ago, he got up at halachos before nets. To go to do the bris. Whatever it is, reason makdim it only means during the day. It doesn't mean the night. Right. So now we're back to where the question remains: why is it that we're doing Bedikas chametz at night? Right. That's agav.
But bris only starts. Bris is only by the 8th day, though. So it would only be allowed to start by halachos.
Right.
But Bedikas is mutter at night, so that would be reason makdim.
That pasuk is by bris.
That's by
the Akedah, that pasuk, no?
That's yes.
By
that's
the
the
Akedah,
yes, that's by.
It's not the bris. Okay, fair.
No, correct. Yeah, I'm sorry if I said it was the bris. I'm mistaken. Thank you for meaning to mean the Akedah could have been done at night.
Right. Okay.
Right. That's what you're saying, Itai.
Well, carbon was it meaning?
No, that's where it's coming from.
I was saying Bedika I got confused between the.
No, you're right. But you're right. That's the raya. No, you're 100%. You're saying that's the raya is that Avram even it was during the day. It wasn't at night. Right now, Agav. Just before we continue, weiter, there's an interesting thing because what's more important, is reason or having more people at the bris? This is not a Corona bris thing because in Corona is very few people by the bris, right? But it's always an issue. People, what's hard to make the bris? You make it 6 o'clock in the morning. It's reason makdim. There's gonna be less people there. You make it in there, especially in the summer. You make a bris at 8 o'clock at night. You'll have a lot of people by that bris, which maybe people don't want. But and the poskim do really come out. They say roiv am, having more people is better than Zrizan Makdimin, but that clearly is not the minig in the Welt. It's clearly not the minig.
My bris was at night.
At night or in the afternoon, like evening?
After Shkia, because it was on Asar B'Teves.
But I'm saying that was the Suda, the actual bris?
I think they did it right before the Suda.
So they probably did it before Shkia, I would imagine.
See, Yaakov, there was I had a few.
I don't remember.
I would hope not. Yeah.
If you have time, Noach Yeager's bris was by Shkia.
Oh, because it was late.
Mr. Yeager was coming in from Eretz Yisrael, and it was supposed to be in the morning, and the plane was delayed. And Naftali called the Skalena Rebbe, and the Rebbe said you have to wait for your father. So the bris was just before. Just before the Shkia,
yeah. So for Skalena Rebbe, though, that might have been ready right on time in the morning, though. That's right when this comes. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so that's an interesting thing, but that's Rizam Makdim. But either way, it shouldn't. Rizam Makdim will not explain why you should do Bedikas chametz at night. So Amarav Nachum Rayitzel b'shasha b'nei adam mitzuyim b'bateyim v'araner yafel bedika. No, that's when people are home. That's one reason, right? So that's when people are home, so they can check. And a candlelight actually makes you'll be able to check into the into the corners, into the cracks in the walls, under the chairs, under the tables, etc., etc. So that's when you use araner. We'll get back to the araner part in a couple of blots. Okay, so Amar Abaya, Hilkoch, and this is Mamish Negeya Lamai. So Amar Abaya to Chanukah. Amar Abaya, Hilkoch, because we're saying that you're supposed to check at the beginning of the night, right? Height Surah Mirabanan, this young Talmud Chacham, Loi Liftach Be'idnei Ba'orda de Tleisar, he should not start on the evening of the 13th, meaning the Nagi Arbesar, the 13th, which is Nagi, which by the way was the other opinion, right? That's what Lashon we used for Or Nagi. Going into the night of the 14th, Dilma Mashchale Shmaitze, because he's going to get so involved in his learning, Vasilam Nuim mitzvah, he's going to end up not doing the mitzvah. So therefore, he's not allowed to learn once it hits Seis on erev Pesach by night. The Talmud Chacham is not allowed to learn, and the Poskim say
But that's not called the 13th anymore.
It's the 13th going. He has to stop learning by Shkia because so they learn out from this. That means not only it's at the time that you're supposed to do Bedikas chametz, it's also a half hour before, right? So, which is around Shkia time. You have to stop. That's when the 13th goes into the 14th. You have to stop learning. You're also, the Gemara doesn't say it here, but you're not allowed to eat a meal, right? You can only snack, and you can't do anything that's distracting. So we know from this halacha, the same thing applies to Chanukah, right? It's the same din as Chanukah. What?
Person should read second Seder and do the.
So that's a big tumult whether that's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. But the only heter to leave second Seder for Chanukah is because nowadays we're lighting inside, so the Zman is not really that early. But yes, if we all lit outside and the Zman would be early, then yes, 100% you'd have to leave second Seder. You're not allowed to learn. And it's learned out from this Gemara, right? But it's very negative. People are working. You can't go to a Hanukkah party before you light neiros, right? You can't eat supper before you light neiros. You can't learn before you light neiros.
Somebody has a business meeting in Manhattan in a restaurant. So you shouldn't do it?
You should not do it. 100% should not do it. Now you could appoint a shomer.
You'll remind when he comes home.
You could, but you could do these things, but stamazoi, it's not allowed to be done.
That's halacha for Marav and night also, no?
It's really the halacha every night for Shema and Ma'ariv, correct? But that already, there's heterim, there's a set time to daven. Here, we don't necessarily have those heterim. Okay, fine. Somebody who rents his house to his friend on the 14th. Salmi livdoik, meaning it's the 14th day. That's when the lease or the rental kicks in. So who's supposed to do Bedikas chametz? Ala masker livdoik? Is it the renter supposed to do it? The chamir of the day? Whose chametz is going to be in the apartment? It's going to be the masker's chametz. Or is it on the renter because the assur is going to be in his rishus, meaning the chametz is going to be in the renter's rishus. Right? So Tashema hamasker ba'is chaver ala seichel lasos mezuzah. So we say because we're going to try and bring a raya from somebody who rents his house to his friend. It's on my parents negated to you, right? On the seicher, the renter's mezuzahs. It's the renter's problem. Yeah. So l'chayra would be, Gemara wants to say that that's the same din, since it's the renter's issue. So by chametz it's also the renter's issue. So also,
but isn't if the mezuzah is there before, he can't take it off?
Yeah.
So the chametz is there before. Maybe it's his problem.
No,
the chametz is from there before.
The mezuzah there before that you're not allowed to take off your mezuzahs is a Kabbalistic thing. It has nothing to do with the halacha of the renter, right? So anyway, so Gemara says, there it says beferish that the mezuzah, it doesn't go on a din of the owner of the house. It goes by whoever's living in it, and so therefore the renter is living in it, not the owner. But hachamai here, what's the din? So Amar Lurav Nachman Yitzchak Tanina, we learned in Amaskar Ba'is Chaverei, if you rent your house to your friend, if before the keys were handed over, it already became the 14th, then it's ala mascher livdoik. It's on the mascher to be baidik. But if he handed him the keys on the 13th in the afternoon, then then the 14th was chal, meaning the night of the 14th was chal. Then ala seicher livdoik. Then the seicher is the one that has to be baidik. This is very negeya to anybody that goes to a hotel. You go to a hotel for Pesach, depending on when you got into the hotel, right? If you go into the hotel the day before Pesach, so then the being baidik the rooms is your headache. If you get to the hotel on erev Pesach, so then whoever owned that hotel or whoever's in charge of those rooms, it's his responsibility to check the room. You can we'll see on Amud Beis if you could tie on him or not. But that's basically what it is.
I'm not clapping. What isn't there an assur bal yirah bal yamatzah no matter what?
Yes, there is.
Meaning, even if you want to say that it's al masker lived like, if the seicher is living there and there's chametz there, isn't there an assur bal yirah bal yamatzah mitzad the seicher, or that wouldn't apply?
Well, it might apply.
Meaning, shouldn't he be baidik? The way Rashi says it, that you're baidik because of the assur bal yirah bal yamatzah. Shouldn't he be baidik even if it's al masker lived like?
Yeah, he just has to get rid of the chametz. Why does he have to be bodek?
What's the difference? That's hainu hach according to Rashi.
No, in a chanami, if the masker doesn't check, the seicher has to be baidik.
But there's no assur bal yirah bal yamatzah mitzad the seicher if he nobody checks.
There would be, yes, there would be. If it's his responsibility, yes. If it's his responsibility,
let's say it's not his responsibility. Would he be over bal yirah bal yamatzah?
It's not your responsibility.
Because it's here.
So so we have to see we gotta.
But it's not his. It's not his.
There might still be an assur bal yirah bal yamatzah. Hence he has to be baidik. Even if it's not his, the Gemara is tzad bal yirah that he has to be baidik.
Excuse me, if you invite me to your house for Pesach as a guest, and
you're not being seicher the house.
And I come
when a guest is not being seicher.
I'm asking you a question.
Excuse me, a guest is not being seicher.
Don't let me finish the question, so don't forget it.
No, he's saying, derabanan, he's saying that it's different because there you're not renting. So that's what he wants to say. But if you're renting, so it becomes your house. But Akiva, you would have to check. But the question is, whose lechatchila responsibility is it?
But if the assur is out, if the reason why we check is as bal yirah bal yamatzah, it's your responsibility no matter what. You don't want to be over bal yirah bal yamatzah.
So that's the but it has to be yours in order to be over on bal yamatzah. It has to be yours. If you go into why? But
the seicher, it's not his anyways. It's not the seicher's.
Sure.
Wait a minute. If I walk into a hotel and there's chametz, they leave the extras in the hotel room, and it's chametz on Pesach.
I'll tell you exactly a case. You know the wet bars that they have in hotels with all the candy bars and the thing that's full of chametz.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, so I spoke to many poskim about I spoke to the big rabbis about this, and they said, yeah, you got to either two things. You tell the hotel that it's not your responsibility, and if it somehow charges it, you are not going to pay for it. And the lechatchila is to tell them you want it out of the room. They got to take that fridge out of the room.
Well, let's say what it means. A lot of these hotels, they leave it in. If you take it, then they
correct. That's the way it works. So you got to tell them, I am not taking responsibility for this, and if you're going to want to charge me for it, if something's missing, it's not coming off my bill.
And they're going to tell you nothing doing. What do you mean? That's
okay, so then you tell them. I want the fridge out of my room. That's what you tell them.
There's a new thing in hotels that they charge you for the safe. Even if you don't use it, you have to go to the front desk and say you do not want the access to the safe, and they won't charge you $10 to have it in your room.
Really?
Yeah. I just went to a hotel. It said if you don't want, we're going to charge you $10 a day, whether you use it or not. If you don't want us, you have to tell us, we'll have to take it out of the room.
But Tzviako, I had a different shot. What about a guy who owns a nursing home?
Right.
Is the person who's in the nursing home considered like he's renting the bed?
Yes.
We got this nursing home man right here. Says it.
Who's it?
His room.
Who's answering? Parrots?
Parrots.
Yeah.
It's his room.
He's here next to me. So.
It's his room?
In fact, they made a rule that if he goes out to the hospital, you're not allowed to change his room. And Yudi, you can do with that too.
Interesting.
Who's that chametz that's coming in and out?
So if I rent Moshe's house for Pesach and I show up 2 hours before Pesach and he calls me and he tells me I forgot to do Bedikas.
Right.
Whose responsibility was it?
It's his response. Who had it on the 14th by night?
The owner of the home. So I know there's chametz in the house on the erev Pesach.
So you do without the shliach. you have to do it as a shliach for him. That's what you do. You do it as a shliach. That would be the what's it called? But we have more to we'll see this throughout the Masechta. We're not done with this.
I see you quiet with the nursing home. Quiet with the nursing home, no?
What do you mean? I saw Parrot said it's his responsibility. It's his room. That's it. So what are you going to do?
And if the chametz that's coming in and out?
He should tell him not to have it. Shouldn't have it. Although a guy could bring chametz into your house, but that's also going to be later. Okay, let's see weiter. Yeah. Which is sort of like the shayla that you're saying, right? If you rent a house from your friend, is it chazaka that it's baduk or not chazaka? The my nafkamina, the shayla, what's the difference? Ask the guy, right? Did you check your house for chametz? Did you not check it? Right? So we're talking about where he's not here to ask him. So Allah truche lahai mai. Do we have to be matriach him? Are we matriach him to check for chametz? So we learned this. Everybody's believing al bir chametz. Afilu nashim, even women. Afilu avadim. Afilu katanim. Right? All three are neman. My time and mehemni. Why are they believed? Right? Lav mishum de cheskasei baduk. Isn't it that there's a chazaka that it's baduk? Meaning a house has a chazaka as baduk. Because everybody's considered a talmud chacham when it comes to bedikas chametz. Meaning, a talmud chacham has a chazaka that he does things properly. So you have to assume that the house is properly checked. The Tanya chaver shemes. I think we had this. Where did we have this? We had this. Did we have it in Shabbos? We had Shabbos. What? Yeah, so the Tanya chaver shemes, yeah, ve'niach megura malaya peres. If a chaver dies and he left a whole box of fruit, can you eat it? Can you assume that it's chumas and maises were taken off? So afilu hein b'nei yamin, even if they were picked that day, harein v'cheskas misulkanim, they're considered fixed because the Talmud Chacham doesn't let these things sit, and he would have taken care of it. So whatever it is, so we're saying that the reason why Noshim and Avadim and Katanim are believed on the chametz is because the house is a chazaka, meaning we would not believe women and kids. Why
are you putting them together? Why wouldn't you believe the lady? You believe her in every other.
Excellent, Ron, excellent, very good. We're going to get to that in the Tosfos. One of the most Marchuk's not here. One of the most famous. Not important, not necessarily important, but famous.
Even without them, it says it's chazaka that it was checked. No, we know that.
Well, that's what we're trying. That's what I was going to say. Well, let's see the shakla v'taya. So the Gemara goes back and forth here very rapidly. Who says maybe the reason there's no chazaka? Maybe it's because these people said it. And Isha and Nashim. So then Gemara says, do we put any mamashas, anything into the word of a woman or an erev or a katan? Right? Elamai. Yeah. I'm happy my mother's not sitting here tonight. She's babysitting. So it's good. It'll be a good night. Elamai. Oh, parrots is issues. Okay. Elamai, the cheskasei baduk. Must be that it's a chazaka baduk. It's a chazaka baduk. That's why we believe them. So then the Gemara says, "Hi, hakol nemanim kol habatim."
We're not believing us the woman. We're believing us the chazaka. We're not believing the woman.
That's what the Gemara is asking back and forth.
No, what's the thing? We're not.
Zev, if your wife and the cleaning lady don't clean the house, who's cleaning the house? Who's making the kosher with Pesach? You ain't.
So what are you saying, Amud?
I mean, the guys in the share not doing it. Their wives and the cleaning ladies are doing it. These guys are not koshering their house.
Yeah.
I'm missing what's going on. Okay.
What are you proud that Reb Zev? They're going back and forth in the Shakavataya. Is it a chazaka? Is it a amira? Right?
I thought the shver comes over and does it.
No, the shver did send his daughter to do it. Right?
Everybody says the holidays is a tough time for
families. You raised a good daughter. I don't have to worry about it.
That's exactly right. That's 100%. Anyway, so Elamai. So what must it be? The cheskasei baduk. If that's the case, if it's that we're basing it on the chazakas, and why? Then we have to change the terminology. Then hay hakol nemanim. It shouldn't be everybody's believed. It should say kol habatim becheskas beduk barba asari. It should say the houses have a chazaka that they're checked, not that the people. right? Elamai mishumamir dani must be because these people say it. Halai amri hani. If the nashim or the ketanim or the one wouldn't have said it, they would, then it wouldn't work. So tifshuminei dein cheskasei badiks. And then if that's the case, and we're relying on what they said, then the chazaka is that it's not badik. So it's back and forth. So the Gemara says, really, a house has a chazaka that it's badik. We happen to know that this guy was not badik, right? We know he made a chasana, whatever, erev Yom Tif, or we know he was out on a business trip. We know for sure nobody was around to be badik. Or it's a corona, new shine. We know he wasn't around. He was locked away somewhere. And we know there's a chazaka of a kamri hani but kine, and these people said that they were baidikit. Mao the same rabbanon. You would think that we're not going to believe the rabbanon, not going to believe an isha or an evid or a katan kamash malon. We are going to believe them. Why? Now this is an important point. Kivan the bedikas chametz with the rabbanon. Who? This since bedikas chametz is a derabanan. Why is bedikas chametz a derabanan? So now this gets back to the first machlokes Rashi taught in a second. The first machlokes Rashi taught in the Masechta, and here too it's a machlokes Rashi taught. Why is bedikas chametz with the rabbanon? Because really midaraisa you just be mevatel your chametz and then it's done. So why do you have to do bedikas chametz? Right? So Rashi says you got to do bedikas chametz because ba yirah ba yimotza, like Akiva was saying before, and Tosfos says because you're afraid you're going to eat it, whatever it is, right? So hemnu rabbanon b'derabbanon. The rabbanon gave nemonos to kids and slaves and nashim with by derabbanon. So meaning midairaisa, the Gemara's maskana. We're believing the woman and the children and the avodim, but only because bedikas chametz is the rabbanon, because we're already mevatel the chametz. So it comes out from the Gemara that enachanami, we don't believe women or kids when it comes to a deraisa. So Tosfos hemnu rabbanon, obviously he asked the obvious kasha. What do you mean? We believe them with kashrus. Does anybody give a bechina to their wife before they eat supper? Right? Does anybody go to the ladies and say they do the kashrus? They did the salting of the
Not
animals,
if you want supper. Not if you want supper.
That's true. Correct. That's right. You just eat and you don't ask. Right? And obviously by taras and mishpacha, so they're all trusted. So Tosfos gives an answer. Right, one of the more famous answers that men love. It's in the middle wide lines in Tosfos, and he's saying because there's a big tircha, it's a big tircha to do bedikas chametz, and it requires a lot of work. And nashim are lazy, women are lazy, so therefore they don't have nemonos on bedikas chametz. Okay, now,
is it possible that Matthias changed? That men became lazy?
I was about to say I don't know if the Matthias changed or not. Ich weiß nicht. I don't know. We have an ongoing discussion that shouldn't even say it, but anytime, a man wants to eat a sandwich, right? So he pulls up the sandwich, but it's never cut all the way through. There's always one part that's still attached, and they end up ruining the whole sandwich, right? The same thing with meat, sliced meat. You take one piece, 15 of them come up, right? So is that a raya? Is Tosfos a raya to that or not? This is an ongoing diyun in whatever amongst I don't know who, whatever. But what Tosfos says that it's a tough job to do bedikas chametz properly. I would say l'chayr Naftali is right that the Metzias changed, but I don't know.
What about a cotton?
I don't know.
What about a cotton?
A cotton? No, a cotton's not believed. A cotton's not going to be believed. No, either way. We're really the Tosfos is really just talking about an isha.
Isn't Bedika different? Isn't where a person's mechuyev in a mitzvah could be they can exempt someone else from doing their mitzvah, right? If a woman is mechuyev in kiddush, she can part of me from mechuyev in kiddush. So wouldn't Bedika?
I mean, arvus. You talking about noshim and not an arvus? Is that what you talking about?
I'm saying if they're mechuyev, meaning if there was no man in the house, she was almana, she'd be mechuyev to do her own Bedika, right? Meaning it's assur for her to have chametz in the house. So therefore, why wouldn't she have nemonos from that regard?
So I think for herself, you're right. It's a good question. So I think for herself, she would have nemonos, right? She doesn't have. Not if
there's a man in the house.
But if there's, what do you mean? No, but if a man has to rely, that's the shaylas. Can a man rely on that? Right. On what she's saying, right? Either way, we say it's a derabanan nowadays, so they are believed, right? That's the teretz in the Gemara. Okay.
Why is it a derabanan though?
Because bittul is, you can just be mevatel your chametz, and then there's no reason to search for chametz.
But what about the pasuk of Ach b'yam rishon tashbisu sami b'teichem?
Right. So the way you do tashbisu is by being mevatel it. That's how you're being mevatel it. It's not yours. We're going to be more. We have to be mayan more into this.
Right. What tashbisu actually?
Right. As we go, that's part of the machlokes Rashi Tosis. What's
We're
tashbisu? Very good.
We're believing women by nida, by mikvah, because why?
Because they are neman to do a good job. The way Tosis is saying is that by Bedikas chametz is way too complicated a situation, so therefore we don't trust them. That's the way Tosis is saying from the Yerushalmi.
What if the person doesn't want to do pitol? He says any chametz I found, I want to keep it. So then he has to do a proper
And
bedika.
if you're not mevatel it, then your bedika would be a deraisa. Which the truth is we are baidik before we're mevatel. Lamaisa, we are baidik.
I'm asking why we believe in women by nida.
Why? Because the Torah is the safra law. There's a pasuk that says we trust her by nida. The safra law.
Why?
Her. How else are you going to do it?
There's a Tosis, I think it says because she's afraid.
Because God said so. He just told you it's a pasuk. He just told you it's a pasuk. That means God said you trust the lady by nida. That's what a pasuk means.
What's the time in the crowd?
Aaron had his Wheaties today.
I don't know. So what do you want to say? Tyson says what?
Doesn't it say because women are afraid to
Yes, there's something, yes. I don't remember exactly, but yes, there's something. That's a pshat, but it says v'sofra law. Bottom line is...
Isn't the same reason going to apply by here? They'll be afraid to tell the husband that they did when they really didn't?
That's a different sugya. That's a different sugya. That's a different sugya. But let's go. It's getting a little late here. So, okay. So let's see. Iboilu. Somebody rents his house to his friend and has chazaka that it's baduk. And he finds that it was not baduk. Meaning he told him, I'm renting you this house, Bedikas chametz gevaldik. It's clean and everything. He gets there, it's not clean. Is that a mekach toys? Meaning, can the guy back out of it, right? Yeah, Gershis and Yonah de Yoima. Yeah, so Toshima, right? The Omar Abaya, Laimi Boy, Ba'asra de Loyavi Agra. No, I don't need to. I got a lot of chizik from this next Gemara because I think that we're a spoiled generation, right? That we hire guys to build sukkahs and clean out the cars. Clearly, from this Gemara, they did it back then too, right? Laimi Boy, Ba'asra. They only tell you in a town, the Loyavi Agro, that they don't pay for people to check Ubadku and they check themselves. The Nichal Elinisha, mitzvah, Begufe. What do you mean? If it's a town, he says, I don't have to tell you that if it's a town where people don't normally pay others to check their houses for chametz, so avada, he's not going to be, how could he tie a mekach toys? He's very happy to do the mitzvah himself. So it must be he's tiny mekach toys because he just wants to get out of the lease.
Is this possibly a mekach toys notwithstanding Pesach? If I rent a house from you that's clean and you send me a dirty house, is that
right? So that would be enochanami. But I think that could also be depending on what the contract says and what the norm would be. Yeah, you're right. But here we're asking specifically about Bedikas chametz. But even in a place where people normally pay, they pay for Bedikas chametz and they themselves don't normally do it, which would mean that it sounds like it's more of a mekach toys because you're causing this guy a loss. That it's still a nichale for a person to be mekayim the mitzvah with his money.
Is this a stomach? Is this a stomach? That meaning is this? Or if he spoke out specifically, but tonight, would that obviously that wouldn't be true?
That's a tumult. That's a tumult in the Rishonim, right? There's even a Mishnah Berurah about it. I don't remember now what he says. That I think the Mishnah Berurah comes out lechumra that even if he made a t'nai that it's baduk, he still holds that you can't tie the mekach toys. I think so. But the Paiskin, Akiv, that's a big chiddush on the Mishnah Berurah. Yeah, but I didn't check the Mishnah Berurah, but I'm pretty sure that's what he says. Okay, right. Tanan Hasam, Rameir Oimer, Oichlin Kol Chamish. There's a Mishnah later. We had this quoted before once. You can eat the whole 5th hour. Sarfin betchila sheish. You have to burn the chametz at the beginning of the 6th hour. Yudaimer Oichlin Kol Arba. You eat the whole 4th hour. V'tailan Kol Chamish, and it hangs, meaning you can get hana, but you can't eat the whole 5th. Then you burn at the beginning of the 6th hour. The kuli amamiyah chametz mishei shoyis ulamala assur minala. But so bottom line is, according to everybody, from chatzos, erev Pesach, you're not allowed to have chametz. Where does that come from? Halfway through the day, like the Gemara said 2 days ago. Where do you see in Yiddishkeit that there's something going halfway through the day? So Rabbi Trey Kroik Sivi, there's 2 psukim. It says Ksiv Shivas Yom Sar Lo Yomaz B'Batechem. That 7 days you shouldn't find chametz in your house. Uksiv Ach B'Yom Harisha and Tashbis Yisomri B'Techem. However, or only, you should not, on the first day, you should not have chametz in your house. Now that's a stira. It says 7 days you shouldn't have chametz, and then it says on the first day you shouldn't have. So what? Only on the first day? It just said 7 days. Okay, it's a l'rabis arba asur l'bir. No, what it's coming to tell you is that the 14th day you're supposed to burn the chametz, not the 15th day, the 14th day. So then the Gemara says, "Ve'emel l'rabis leile chamish asur l'bir." Maybe it should tell you that you have to burn it by the 15th at night. Because I would have thought it says days, yamim in leilos loy, but it's mashma not night. Kamashma lon, that the pasuk's teaching you ach b'yam rishon that afilu leilos, that even at night, right? So then when the Gemara says, no, we wouldn't need that. We have to just go a few more lines because that's in the middle of a sugya. We make a hekesh, we compare hashpasas are meaning not resting, literally means resting from your chametz, to resting from sa'ar to eating chametz. Achilas chametz, achilas matzah. And then we compare chametz to matzah. Hashpasas are achilas chametz. We compare staying away from leaven. That's a literal translation. To achilas chametz t'chsiv shivas yam sa'ar lo yimatzu b'batechem. You shouldn't eat. You shouldn't have sa'ar in your house. Shouldn't be found. Kikol oichel machmetzes, because anything that you eat is chametz. Right? And they'll get karas. Then achilas chametz, achilas matzah. We compare chametz to matzah. D'chsiv kol machmetzes lo yisechelu. You shouldn't eat matzah. You shouldn't eat anything that's chametz. B'chol mishur seichem toichlu matzahs. And in all your cities, you should eat matzahs. Uksiv be b'matzah be'erev toichlu matzahs. And then by matzah, it said you eat in the evening. Right? So therefore, we're comparing all 3 together. So maybe that's what you would end up thinking, that it should be night. So then maybe it's coming to tell you that the 14th night that's when you have to be beer. So it says b'yoim ksiv. It says b'yoim. So ve'ema mitzafra. So maybe you should do it from the morning. Why are you waiting till chatzos? Now I grew up pronouncing this word cholak, but I checked the art scroll, I checked the Sefaria, and you were ma'ir to me, Gershon. It's achilek. Right? I don't know. To me, it's sacrilegious to call it chilek and not cholak, but and the Yeshiva Javel, I think it's called cholak. But it seems like the proper is ach chilek. The word ach separates it. Right? The word ach, what's ach only? It's telling you that half the day yes, half the day no. Now, if you look at Rashi, the ach cholak, and then we'll be done for those that are getting very tired. If they're already not tired, that you learn it's really a gematria. Right? Because one of the ways of darshaning psukim is called achas, bata, gif, and dachetz, meaning every 7th letter you hook up with each other. So it's aleph, ches, samach, right? Beis, tes, ayin, gimel, yud, and pei, dalet, chav, and tzadik. So what's ach? What hooks up with aleph? Ches. And what hooks up with chav? Tzadi. So that means chatz, half. That's Rashi's second pshat in what ach separates it, and that's how we know that it's the 14th day. That's when you have to burn it, not on the 15th day. And the ach splits half the day, so that's how we know that you stop from chatzos.
Where else do we find that in the Torah?
I have no idea what to do. That type of limos.
No, it's obvious.
I just had it today in Taisus and Gittin. I was just started learning Gittin with someone today. The top Taisus, the first Taisus and Gittin. There's the second Taisus and Gittin. The first Taisus and Gittin. He says, why does a get have 12 lines? Because get is the gematria 12. So we learn halacha from gematria.
Yeah, so here too. Anyways, okay. Good night, everybody. Tomorrow night, Bez Hashem, we'll have to do a little bit more, and then okay, whatever.
Thank
Thursday
you.
gets a little longer. All right.
Fine. Night,
Good night, everybody.
Stiagiv, you saw what I texted you?
I'm just looking now.
Yeah, both parents go.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but they're burned out. That's what you're saying. They're burned out.
It's not just burned out. And if you tell them that I want to do a good job with Bedikas chametz, what do you mean? I just spent the last 3 weeks doing Bedikas chametz. I should do a good job now. That Atzlanius doesn't mean lazy the way we see it. It means he's not going to do a good job.
Okay.
Father's part.
Tzviako,
Yeah.
can I call you after you sign off? You have 2 minutes.
Can you call me in an hour? An hour and 15? Well, the truth is, it doesn't work till you up at 11:45. Is it really quick? Because I have a chavrusa now, and then I have another chavrusa after that.
Lamaisa last year, I don't care. We have to wait for results for my wife. She's extremely high
You can
risk.
call me. So, I mean, you have to talk about it here.
No, it's fine. I honestly, I don't care too much.
He told me already. But anyway, good night.
All right, Zach.
I'll call you later.
Yeah.
But we might not find out until theoretically.
Why isn't it
What's the
stuck?
story with that? Considering she's extremely high risk.
Yeah.